So on the real, ladies and gents, this so rarely happens, and I am honored and touched and tickled. Way to deflate my good graces with one word. But yeah, this is really cool. I'm glad it's landing with people. I'm glad people are getting some sort of insight out of what was, in many ways, just like a tossed-off ramble about special interests. But, you know, happy to have uploaded something that people dug. So, without further ado, here's some more for you. So as I talked about in last week's video, as well as the second video that I uploaded on here, just giving the 101 on zines, what they are, how to make them, it was a particular stack of tiny indie bookstore finds. I can do this, I swear. That made this a kick for me and exposed me to the idea of DIY books, making your own stuff, putting it out yourself in paper form. So to expand on this hip, fluffy concept that is analog internet, here are the zines that planted the seed for all this into this here noggin. Courtesy of two publishers, Fiddler's Green, published by Clint Marsh, and Microcosm, started by Joe Beal. So here's the first magical leaflet that caught my eye. This is called Our Bogies, Our Shelves, which is an essay about keeping a library. The sort of psychic, magical effect it has on our identities as we build it up and as we hold on to things for later usage. I'll read the blurb on the back real quick. Your home library is more than a mere collection of fact and fantasy. By acquiring and keeping each of the books that line your shelves, you craft an ever-changing self-portrait made of memories, knowledge, hopes, and secrets unique to you alone. Wow, that's quite a profile. That's quite a dossier. But yeah, Fiddler's Green is gorgeous. Absolutely drop-dead gorgeous. I love the vibe, I love the layout, I love all the logos and ephemera that make up the brand. Clint Marsh seems like a pretty rad dude, punk rock background, big nerdy dork from the 80s. I've collected quite a few of those little leaflets in particular because they're such quick, concise reads that offer, you know, thought-provoking ideas in a way that appeals to nerds such as myself. So much so that I backed this Kickstarter campaign, Volume 9 of his Fiddler's Green Peculiar Parish magazine, which is an omnibus of poetry, illustrations, short stories from Clint's own found community of mystics, anarcho-Tolkienite artists, storytellers, and poets. What's really cool about... I always forget it does this. What's really cool about these releases is they come with what's called a flexidisc, which is just a plastic sheet that has music on it. Like, look at that circle. That's a fucking record that you can fan yourself with. I'm not going to do that too much, it might hurt it. That's really cool. I look at Fiddler's Green as the higher end of indie zine adjacent projects. Like when you've got the budget, when you've got the organization, when you've got the resources, you can make a luxurious compendium of culture and fun and art to line the shelves of D&D players and fantasy fans and punk rockers. Love it. These two volumes of the Unfuck Your series from Faith G. Harper are quick, no bullshit explanations on how to get your cool back in terms of mental health, presentness, mindfulness, and work. Similar to Fiddler's Green, Microcosm is built around hipster-adjacent bookshop dudos and dudettes. Dudettos? Dudetto. Like this one in particular is filed under what Dr. Faith calls her 5-minute therapy series. Just blunt force advice and experience about striking out on your own, running your own business, or working for other people in a way where you can both keep your principles and also survive if you can't always. Because that shit's hard. Take it from someone who's been in the freelance game off and on throughout his entire adult life. I'm actually lighting myself. My freaking white fill right now is from a freelance website that I'm opening back up to hopefully snag some voice gigs to make some extra money. But that's not what this is about. The flowery, floaty rhetoric of mindfulness and meditation and living in the moment, like, that shit can be grating and come off as insincere. But I don't know. If you lead with the fuck word, if you have a Wall Street Journal bestseller called Unfuck Your Brain, that's a little bit more my speed. It's like The Artist's Way if it wore Doc Martens and kicked more than a few guys in the face for being pricks. It was just surreal to see these next to the Fiddler's Green leaflets on a rack across a pathway from, actual books. I couldn't even tell you what books those were. They were conventional literature and maybe even some self-help, but these were right next to it at a far lower price with something that's way more likely to resonate with me. And as said, it introduced me to Microcosm. This Make a Zine book is something that gets repackaged every few years. This is the 25th anniversary. I think they just put out a 30th anniversary one not too long ago. But yeah, it summarizes the process of making your own zines, where to get your ideas, how to go about making them on a logistic level, and how to break into underground publishing in general. Also, like Fiddler's Green, they pretty frequently run crowdfunding projects, such as this one, Underground is Bigger Than the Mainstream, by Joe Beal himself and his current partner in crime with the entire Microcosm operation, and who he runs a self-publishing podcast with, Ellie Blue. This is basically the Microcosm story retold, with anecdotes of all the trials and tribulations of running a company like Microcosm, with, fun, punky, notebooky illustrations thrown in. Was happy to be a backer. My tier included a handful of other books off of their catalog. Pretty cool. So yeah, again, this fixation of mine was kickstarted by one visit to an indie bookstore in Asheville, North Carolina. That's how the sort of thing is started, and the way it's sustained is to keep at making the things yourself, which, I've made a handful. I'll talk about those on a future video, I think. But to also find community with people who are interested in doing that sort of thing. Doesn't even matter what topic the zines themselves are about. The base level shared camaraderie and solidarity of trying to make your own stuff outside the system of book monopolies, like that Rocket Cowboy fuck. That's enough of a gas on its own to just feel seen and feel included. Being part of something bigger than yourself without necessarily signing off on some, manifesto of hooey and ballin'. But I wanted to end this one on another book that I got from that same trip. And this speaks to one of the cooler aspects of zining and underground media. This is a collection of The Toucan, the first 10. What is The Toucan? It was an ongoing zine series run by college students in College Park, Maryland. And these issues were written at the tail end of the 90s, right before the turn of the century, right before 9/11, talking about politics, pop culture, flag burning, meatheads. There's a whole spiel here. This was just lining the shelves of that place I went to. And come to find out, yeah, if you dig real deep on the internet, you can find it listed in databases and, stores that used to sell it. But goddamn, if I can't find a way to purchase a copy online or anything. What's more, all of the contact information at the front keeps turning up bunk whenever I go looking for Red Roach Press. And that's really fascinating to me. Something as recent as the late 90s, and something as jubilant and youthful as an underground magazine publication from a bunch of 20-somethings can just poof and become as obscure and esoteric as something out of the 70s and 80s. To have a copy of this is to maintain that continuity and history of this and the moment that it was written in. There's a handful of essays in here about The Phantom Menace, Star Wars Episode 1. Now, some people dug it, others hated it. How even then people saw it as the seeds of fascism getting planted into the Republic leading up to the original trilogy. Stuff that I wasn't remotely conscious of at the time that movie came out. But, punks like this, they were doing the work. They were reading too deeply into stuff that's supposed to be for kids and just for fun, not unlike YouTube now. But yeah, that's the superhero or villain, depending on how you look at it, origin story of this analog internet thing that I'm hooked on. I want this channel to be, much like my main one, Lanuski, a variety resource. So as cool as all of this is, and as dead set as I am of focusing on it, now that I know so many people are digging it, I want to cover the other mediums that I partake in. So we'll see what ends up getting uploaded next, but what I can say, if it does involve zines, we can get into some of the stuff that I've made. Speaking of which, I'm going to add another freebie to the Patreon for those interested. This is called the Scheme Zine. This is a loose, chicken-scratched outline of all the cool shit I want to do while being Lanuski and, you know, my other alter egos that I operate under. You can get a feel for what my goals are, how my brain works, with this quick little doodad printed in the traditional mini pocket zine format, double-sided print. Go check it out. That's all I got for y'all. Thanks again for watching. Subscribe if you want.